I've been saying it since episode 1. More sound effects.
Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin, and next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
And as always, we are joined by our producer / idiot / genius savant, Richard.
It's back.
Oh, God, I can't believe you made it louder.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. While war never changes. Since the dawn of humankind, when our ancestors first discovered the killing power of rock and bone, blood has been spilled in the name of everything, from God to justice to simple psychotic rage. Even though it says rag on the page.
It does say rag. I was confused by simple psychotic rag.
I may have copied and pasted that incorrectly.
You may have totally boned that one up. But I say...
From Fallout 3. It's the best game of all time.
I was going to ask where it was from.
Saves the day!
Did you throw that away?
I did, yeah.
I was like, I think I... No, okay. I really got to start printing these on both sides.
It's like you're wasting a lot of paper.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right after we did that whole episode on the green, Richard just declared a one-man war on the environment.
Right.
And in news, Richard has declared a one-man war on recycling.
What else?
Yeah, no comment.
DC Sync Atlantis crosses over Aquaman and Suicide Squad.
Yeah, so at the end of DC Metal, it's sort of like flash forward to like things that are coming up in other titles. So it includes like the Invisible Lantern Spectrums. It includes the Dark Gods arc that's starting in Wonder Woman. The other one was that Atlantis would rise out of the sea. So this crossover with the Suicide Squad is basically that Atlantis has or will be like risen out of the sea. And the Suicide Squad, I think, is going to be tasked with trying to resync it. So it'll be Aquaman versus the Suicide Squad, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
So my next question is there a reason for your outfit today? You got an Aquaman t-shirt on and cargo shorts.
It's summer and I like Aquaman.
I didn't know anyone wore cargo shorts still.
News
to me.
Where am I supposed to put all my Cheez-Its?
He's got so much stuff.
Jesus.
What, is he supposed to put his chain wallet on, what, skinny jeans?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like the little square cracker?
Where am I supposed to put my 2 liters of Mountain Dew?
He's got that external hard drive always with him. He needs a perfect place to put that.
DC's Young Animal line to end its current run.
So Young Animal is the imprint that's run by Gerard Way, and that's currently Doom Patrol, it's Mother Panic, it's Cave Carson, has an Interstellar Eye, and it's like Eternity Girl and some other...
So does this mean that he's done?
No, because I think even he said that Young Animal isn't over, but like I think this like wave might be done, and then they're going to work on some new projects, and then it'll come back in some form. I don't really know the details about it, but yes, for the time being, that the whole Young Animal line, all of those other sort of like weird out there kind of comics are going to be done for a bit. I have to assume that when it does come back, the Doom Patrol will be part of that. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's probably just a matter of readership, right? Like anytime you have like weird sort of titles, there's a very small but very dedicated fan base, but that doesn't necessarily sustain the sales. So I'm sure it's probably just reevaluating the types of stories they're going to be doing with Young Animal, but I don't think it's gone forever.
Tom King teases huge things for Booster Gold.
I'm so stoked Booster Gold is back in the world.
I don't know what he's teasing, though. Booster Gold the reason Tom King is probably talking anything about Booster Gold is because we just wrapped up this arc that we talked about last week where Booster's like wedding gift to Batman was giving him the like It's a Wonderful Life tour of if his parents survived and if he wasn't Batman, but I have a problem with that story because it comes immediately after a story where Booster went back in time with Superman and stopped him from altering anything. And then and Booster was trying to preserve
What are you, drunk?
Integrity.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not with that attitude, I'm not.
Booster was trying to protect the integrity of the timeline, and then like immediately flips around in this Batman arc and says like, no, I'm just gonna fuck with time just to show Batman he's important, which feels like really disingenuous to the character. Like that, it doesn't feel like something Booster would actually do.
He doesn't give a shit about Batman.
But Batman's his bro.
He's not though, right? Like,
no, they're not like at all. So
clearly, because he goes back in time to show how important.
I guess Tom King is interested in doing more with Booster Gold, which I'm all for because I love that character. But I just hope that there's maybe a little more thought put into it, because that arc is built to me on a false premise. It's a thing Booster wouldn't have done, but.
Well, that's your opinion.
It is. That's why I said
that's why it's Dr. DC.
Maybe Tom King has like a little bit more of a like a Brokeback Mountain vibe for their future.
You haven't. That's not where that arc goes.
Maybe it's Booster Back Mountain.
It's not where that arc goes.
The arc's in his back.
There it is.
What's next?
Because he's doing them.
Yeah, I get it.
It's called Arc Back Mountain.
They have sex at McDonald's.
Oh my god, that's a double back arc. Oh Jesus. Lego DC Comics Superheroes Aquaman Rage of Atlantis trailer has been released, and we watched it.
We just watched it. I also think it's really funny how long that title is, because it's like a DC Comics Lego presents like Aquaman Rage of Atlantis from like
the book, the movie, the game.
Yeah.
This is like
book by Sapphire.
You're like college. It's like your college friend's promotional company putting on a show for the one band that they know in town.
The title is jumping through all sorts of legal.
Seriously.
Yes. For a kid's movie, it has a crazy long title. Yeah, it might as well be like the full title of Doctor Strangelove. Yeah, I mean, we watched it. It's like a movie for young kids. These Lego like DC Heroes ones.
Yeah.
They're just like light, fun. This one, like Aquaman.
They really like cheese up Aquaman and kind of make him the butt of the joke.
Oh yeah, there's an alert at this lake, and he's like, "Oh, I can handle that." And they're like, "No, it's like a dry lake bed." And he's like, "Oh, that could be challenging." So, yeah, I mean, they're having fun with the character, but then also introducing like a weird nemesis for Aquaman is Atrocitus.
Really?
Who comes from like the Green Lantern mythos. He's the leader of the Red Lanterns.
Lanterns.
It's like the Red Lanterns versus Aquaman and the Justice League, like with Aquaman at the forefront instead of Green Lantern, which
they were just like, we need a throwaway villain for this Aquaman.
Do you know what? Like I'm kind of okay with it, because I like when there's like weird.
Well, introduces kids to some weirder villains too from the DC.
But also when it's not always just in the same context, right? Like every time like a lantern shows up, you don't need a Green Lantern to solve it. Like someone else can take that on. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, it seems weird. For some reason to me, the trailers seem to be like downplaying how like silly it is. Like a lot of the shots in that trailer are Superman like, "We can do it," and like Batman like the king, and like all this kind of like, it's a silly movie, and a lot of the other trailers have really like played up the gag kind of.
Yeah.
But this didn't, which is weird. I'm sure it's fine, but yeah.
Are you going to watch it?
I'm not going to make a point of it, but I do have a child, so I'm sure at some point this will be a thing I watch.
He's just going to run out of like child-friendly DC content at some point.
Well, I mean, I can only not show my infant Batman v Superman for so long.
Walking around the house, Martha.
I think by the time that she's like 7 months old, she can handle like a gritty version of murder Batman and sad Superman. So.
H3 killing joke,
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Why not?
When does The Longest Halloween come in?
Ooh, well, I mean, she'll have to be able to read, but only just.
Well, they have the movie, don't they?
Not of Long Halloween.
Oh, no, you're right. They don't. That's killing joke.
I mean, technically they do, because it's a lot of Long Halloween is like in the Dark Knight, but it's not like the story.
No.
But.
That'd be great if someone would come along and do that film.
Like do an animated.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll get to it
eventually.
What?
I'd like to see them do it like in that same kind of Japanese style that the
I know.
Yeah.
Like an anime style Long Halloween?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I like that.
Yeah, but set it during like the French Revolution, but with Japanese animation.
What is this, Assassin's Creed?
And put like Solomon Grundy in there.
Okay, calm down.
Hell yeah.
All the tits.
I'm just trying to make it weird enough to live up to Batman Ninja.
There's literally no it's not. It would have to go so far.
And the moon has a face.
Yeah. But that face is like kind of like your face. It's just like how you're like describing a dream.
Willem Dafoe as the moon.
But you were like in your room, but it like wasn't your room.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Pre-Flashpoint universe still exists.
What?
So it does, but not as like a parallel Earth. It's not like an Earth of the multiverse, but I think it exists as like an aspect of hypertime, which is a thing we've touched on before, where it's like the alternate possible futures all sort of run concurrently to like the mainstream of the way events are playing out. And the way that we've seen this is that there's currently in Detective Comics, and I think in Super Sons, there's been a future version of Tim Drake, who is clearly from the pre-Flashpoint universe. And he's shown like Stephanie Brown and like Cassandra Cain, the versions of themselves from that world where they became Batgirl or Black Bat, respectively. Whereas in this continuity, they've only been Spoiler and Orphan. So we're getting like glimpses of these things. Connor Kent has been mentioned. So like, I think this is more about hypertime than it is parallel Earths, because it's about like possible histories.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
As opposed to like a full other universe. But yes, technically the pre-Flashpoint continuity still exists, and it's still impacting the like New 52 Rebirth continuity.
Well, this next one makes me happy.
All right.
DC Comics announces new Looney Tunes crossovers.
They've been doing so many crossovers lately.
They do these like sort of periodically. The last batch of them were actually really awesome. There was a really good Batman Elmer Fudd one. That was a ton of fun. What's kind of like interesting about them is like, because they're putting these characters from very different art styles together, you get like a version of Elmer Fudd that's drawn like super realistically. He doesn't look like the Looney Tune. He's just like someone drew a man with sort of his features, but like that would fit in the Batman world. You know what I mean?
Weird.
So there's one that I'm really looking forward to in this new batch that is basically Sylvester the Cat teams up with Catwoman to catch Tweety Bird.
Okay, that's awesome.
And then Tweety Bird realizes that he needs backup, and so teams up with Black Canary.
Whoa.
So yeah,
I'm just like
that's I think that's Gail Simone that wrote that one. So I'm really excited for that. But there's a whole bunch of these mashups.
I really hope they make like Porky Pig like into like some thug.
There's the Porky Pig one. The cover of it, he's with Lex Luthor.
Oh, because I just want to see like him in an alley, like blah, 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 you out of your life, like.
Yes, please.
Oh my! It would be interesting to put him.
No, even better. He's already stabbed the guy, and he goes, "But that's all, folks," and then walks away.
Yeah, it's true.
They should pair him up with Professor Pig.
Oh,
the Batman villain who like performs like surgery on people, like plastic surgery on them to make them quote unquote perfect. He creates his Dolatrons out of them.
Is Bugs gonna show up like in front of Mr. Freeze and be like, "Man, what's up, Doc?" Like,
good,
right?
Yeah, I don't know what the full lineup is of the crossovers, but yeah, the one I'm excited for is Gail Simone's one with Catwoman and Sylvester the Cat and Tweety Bird, Black Canary.
I want Elmer Fudd to die in a shootout.
With Jonah Hex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really...
Yeah. Just massacre the Looney Tunes universe.
I'm hunting for...
Could you imagine how gruesome the live action like crossover would be? It wouldn't be like,
God.
It wouldn't be fun like Space Jam. It would be like Batarang to the eye. Like Daffy Duck falls off a cliff.
I like that.
Yeah.
The mystery of Batman's parents' death finally explained.
Well, so
Jack Hughes.
It was Jack Hughes the whole time.
So a thing that people bring up a lot with Batman's parents' death is like, if you're wealthy, you know, like socialites, why the fuck are you taking your kid through a back alley?
It's true.
Of course you got shot. So at the end of this arc where Booster Gold has messed things up, he then has to go back in time again and try and fix them. And now there are like multiple boosters with different sort of plans of how things are going to go down. But ultimately what happens is the scuffle of these boosters, like fighting with each other, creates a commotion in the street so that Thomas and Martha Wayne are like, we don't know what this is, but we should take a different route to the car. So they cut through the alley. Joe Chill catches them, kills them, and the timeline gets reset. So basically, the reason that they died now is because of Booster.
Whoa.
Sort of indirectly, directly. Yeah. Like, he didn't kill them, but it's because of his actions that they go down the alley and Joe Chill kills them.
Oh my God.
So it's slightly less random, but more like just, it's still circumstantial. It's not like Booster like went up to Thomas Wayne and was like, listen, bud, you need to go through this alley tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just inceptions him.
Well, no, not even. It's because it's basically an accident. But
it's the second time in DC that they've had to like intentionally kill somebody's parents so that the hero could be born. Flash. Barry Allen.
Well, yeah. The weird one with the Flash one is that his mom, like the whole history of Barry Allen before Flash Rebirth, his parents were both alive.
Yeah.
And then Reverse Flash changed the past.
Mm-hmm.
But because he has the negative Speed Force, he can alter the timeline without really affecting history.
Yeah.
So, because of story. Because of negative Speed Force.
Because of Speed Force.
So then when Barry went back to fix it, he broke history, and then he was sort of forced to live with this new version that Reverse Flash had made, but that wasn't the way it was. So it's a little bit different because Barry got stuck with a change to the timeline, whereas this one is Booster fixing a change to the timeline and bringing it back to the way it was.
Yeah, I get you.
Good.
CW introduced Batwoman in this year's Arrowverse crossover.
What?
Yeah, so for every year they do the big crossover of Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow.
But Batwoman?
2 years ago, it was the Dominators, the aliens, that invaded. This past year, it was Crisis on Earth X. It was the Nazi universe that invaded. And yeah, next year they're going to Gotham City, which has been name dropped a few times on these different shows. And Batwoman is Kate Kane is making her debut on the CW. So basically, this is a world in which we assume that Batman also exists, but we will never see him because of licensing issues. But but Batwoman will basically be representing the Bat family and Gotham City in this big crossover, which is pretty cool. You know, like at the top of this past season of Arrow, Oliver Queen referenced Bruce Wayne. Like, we know that all of these things exist in the Arrowverse, but we won't get to see them because they have shows elsewhere or other properties, right? Like,
because CW is a huge cock tease.
Well, it's not their fault.
I know, but it's just like, don't even tell me that exists. Like, that's like saying peanut butter and chocolate exists, but you can just have this gummy candy for the rest of your life. And it's just like, but peanut butter and chocolate, like, I like those things separately, but together. And it's just like, no. Well, I mean, we'll occasionally talk about Reese's, but you're never going to taste it.
Right. It's just like that.
I really like peanut butter and chocolate.
And you really hate gummies.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Why do you hate on gummies so much?
Because it's just sugar and gelatin.
No, do you know what? I've wanted to talk to you about this for a while. Why the fuck do you hate gummies?
Okay.
What have they done? No, actually, don't answer that.
Gummies killed my mother and raped my father.
No. Why?
You walked into it. You knew what you were getting yourself
You
into.
literally kicked the door open for him to do this.
Why do you have to say it, though?
Because you did it.
At any rate, yes, Batwoman will be sort of central to next year's big crossover.
Kaboom.
That's also like a backdoor way of saying all of those shows got renewed. So,
yeah.
Hey,
it's a backdoor. I'm excited.
That's what his mom said. Batman prequel series Pennyworth in the works.
Into it? Jesus. Yeah. Apparently there's a prequel series about Alfred coming, which is
what the hell? I mean, you know what? I like
Alfred's
this
a cool character, but like, who gives a shit?
If this was so it's like, hey, you know, so it's like, hey, Gotham, you know, before he was Batman. Oh, I guess we'll not see anything cool. That's okay. We'll put in all the heroes. Okay. How about Alfred? Well, there's no way that we'll get any of the heroes because they weren't in there. How much do you want to bet we're still going to see a bunch of fucking villains?
It'll be like him in the SAS before he works for the Waynes, and then someone will be like, "Oh, my name is like Hans Freeze. This is my son Victor. Victor, stop playing with that snowman."
And then it's just like, whoa,
hint, hint.
Victor, where did you get that giant freeze gun and a wife that died? Because fuck the viewers, that's why.
Do you know what made me laugh is that we just watched that Teen Titans Go to the Movies trailer last week or 2 weeks ago, and the gag in that trailer is that they're at the movies, and there's a trailer, and Robin thinks it's about him.
For Alfred.
It shows an R, and then
That's weird.
It's, like, it's Batman's best friend. He's like, it's me! And then it zooms out, it just says Alfred. And then, like, he gets his own movie, and Robin doesn't get one. And then they
have a TV show.
Pennyworth TV show. That's hilarious.
That's really funny.
That's the funniest part of this piece of news to me.
How long?
I'm sure it could be good. I'm sure there's lots of interesting story because Alfred is a great character, but there are so many other characters that could be explored. Why do we need more like secondary, tertiary Batman characters?
And there's also nothing like there's no reason for you to watch it.
No.
Like if they could, and I hope they make just a great show and they don't even mention any of the Batman universe, and maybe they talk about some of the like characters from back then, but not in any sort, because I mean he had zero contact with those before then.
But why even make it?
Just
make a show about a butler that used to be in the army. Just make a show.
Yeah.
Put it on AMC. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is it?
Well, you know how much everybody loves Gotham, so
I mean, people do
enough that it's still on, I guess. But I just don't. Yeah, I for the life of me, I don't know why. I mean, I'm gonna watch it, but
I probably won't.
You know you're going to.
I won't.
Because I'm going to watch it, and then if it's good, I'm going to tell you to watch it, and you'll watch it.
I'm still not done Black Lightning. I'm working my way through. I'm almost there.
I haven't. I stopped. I still haven't gone back. I heard that it ends really good, too.
It's getting better, and I thought they were going to kill James Remar, and I was ready.
Real excited.
I was ready for it.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. But
God damn it.
I'm almost done Black Lightning now. Yeah.
Fuck, man.
That it really sounds like I'm slogging through that. I'm not. I just don't have a ton of time to catch up on.
I don't understand why. What do you have some sort of priority at home that's keeping you from?
Yeah.
Doom Patrol series coming to DC's streaming service.
So did we talk about this already?
I think we did, but just in case we didn't, that Titans show that is coming out, they had announced that there's like an episode called Doom Patrol, and then they had announced a bunch of casting for the members of the Doom Patrol. And now they are officially spinning off of that show.
Yeah. So
they'll get a bit of a pilot, quote unquote, on Titans, and
like a backdoor pilot, yeah,
basically. And hey, you're right there.
That's right.
Backdoor pilot. And then Doom Patrol will spin off and be its own show. I'm actually pretty excited about that. They're a great set of characters. Really interesting story, because unlike other superhero things, these are characters with powers that they consider themselves and are considered by society to be freaks, as opposed to like being celebrated. Like Superman could do anything, and people are like, "Yay, Superman!" And the Doom Patrol show up, they're like, "I'm a robot with a human brain," and they're like, "Oh Jesus, get him away!" they're like ostracized.
Come here, little Jimmy! Don't even look at that.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly. They're like hated. So.
That's awesome.
So it'll be interesting to see a superhero show that has to kind of deal more with that sort of side of things instead of just superheroes being great all the time. Some self-loathing. That's what I want. That's why I like the DC.
That's why you come to the Dr. DC podcast. Why not do that for your TV shows?
Yeah. Nice.
What else? What else you got in there?
I'm in my mum's car.
Where was that for the Looney Tunes thing?
Yeah.
What's next?
Sometimes I have to load inside.
Well, I wasn't waiting for you. I'm trying to prompt Colin.
Oh,
to do the thing he's meant to be doing.
The little kids get thing.
Jamel is here. Ooh.
Can we just cut his mic?
Yeah, sure.
He's the producer.
So Gotham is now not allowed to use the Joker.
It's not now. They've never been allowed to use
why?
DC does this. They if they have plans for things on the big screen, they'll stop the TV shows. So
that, even though they're so disconnected and there's two Batmans. So
for example, in Arrow season 2, and season 1, Slade Wilson was in that show. Yeah. And then he became Deathstroke and he was a big character. And then as the DCEU was coalescing, they were like, we think we want to use Deathstroke in the movies. You can't use him anymore, which is why Slade Wilson just got put in a hole in the ground on Lian Yu, and then you never saw him for 4 years or 3 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, we don't think we're doing anything with Deathstroke. So he came back for part of a season. And then they were like, no, we're going to use him again. They can't use him anymore. The same thing is true of the Joker. I don't know why, because all the other Batman villains are in that friggin' show. But basically, the reason they've had to dance around it, they've had Jerome, and now it's Jeremiah, his twin brother that got Joker gassed and is more the Joker than what Jeremiah was.
So I know that they're
both meant to be precursors or inspirations for what would eventually be the Joker.
So I read an article where basically in an interview, someone said that the Joker is out there somewhere, basically watching these guys and taking notes, and that will be the inspiration for when he eventually comes.
Yeah, fine.
Which, I mean, it's kind of fuck you, but sure.
My only thing is that it's so clear the show wants them to be the Joker, and that actor is so good. You want him to be the Joker.
I wonder partly if the writers
they did the cut off your face thing. They dress him like Jack Nicholson in 1989's Batman movie.
I wonder if the writers were kind of I know they don't necessarily want us to do it, but if we just make him so good and the show gets such high ratings, they'll just have to let us.
And then they just haven't.
And they just were like, no, you can't.
I think you're probably right. Because, like I said, that actor and his sort of version of it is great.
Because I could just see WB and DC sitting down being like, look, we get what you're doing. And they're like, hey, he's not the Joker. His name's Jeremiah. I don't. That's not. We never said he was a Joker.
He just wears purple.
What? I mean, what?
What guy can't wear purple?
What guy can't wear? Yeah. I mean, I guess if you looked at it that way, could potentially. But I mean,
are they similar?
I guess
the high pitch,
yeah, I guess a little bit.
I don't see it.
You looking at that novel?
It's like Mickey Mouse a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, you think that's Joker?
No, we've got Marvel, huh? But yeah, I mean that's not new, but yeah, I think it's just been confirmed because this past season of Gotham has seen it shift from Jerome to Jeremiah, and they're the Joker's basically on that show, but they're like, no, he's not.
So now on to the Doctor's pull list.
Yeah, it's everybody's pull list, my friend.
I kind of want to talk about The Flash, the TV show. Because
really,
by the time this comes out, the season finale will have aired. But as we're recording it right now, it hasn't come out yet. It comes out tomorrow. So we're one episode away from the end of season 4.
Yes.
This season, they finally ditched the speedster villain thing, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
This season started with a lot of Happy Berry, and it was more fun again, which is good.
Yes.
But things that have been bugging me recently.
Ooh.
Everyone is fucking mopey on that show again. And I mean, in a way, they kind of have to be because a lot of people have died. But
what's wrong? Jeez.
And they keep
cheer up, Buttercup.
And they keep failing. But they wrote a season where they're like, he's a happier Flash, and then they killed a bunch of people in front of him. So
so who's the psycho now?
Well, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a bit of an issue with this villain. With the Thinker.
Really?
And it's not that he's not doing a good job, and it's not that I don't like where they're going. Because basically he's been increasing his intelligence exponentially. He created all of these metahumans so that he could steal their powers. He has the powers of a dozen metahumans.
And is this a hero that's been in the DC before? A villain, sorry?
Yeah, he's in the comics. He's one of the arch nemesis of the Golden Age Flash in the comics.
Okay.
He had a thinking cap that would make his thoughts stronger.
A brainiac?
A little, yeah. In the show, he has a thinking cap, and then he gets caught in the dark matter explosion, and it gives him a... But his big plan is to make the world stupid, so that...
What's the logic?
Well, the logic is that like technology, our reliance on technology, and people aren't curious anymore. So he thinks if you like regress people's like thoughts and you wipe out their memory of technology, then they'll have to like rediscover the world.
Oh my God,
in order to survive.
Please tell me we get like an episode where everybody isn't smart and like doesn't have technology.
Well, here's what's happened. So
that would be fun.
At the end of the penultimate episode last week, his plan starts to come into effect. All of his satellites are in position and the beam goes off or whatever. And we've seen what his plan will do, because in the lead up to this, Harry, like the Earth 2 Dr. Wells, who's part of the team, has tried to make his own thinking cap and put dark matter into it so he would be smarter than DeVoe.
Yeah.
And it backfired, and it's making him stupid.
Oh, it? Oh God, I would love to see that actor play stupid.
Well, it's got
to be real funny.
It's funny, but it's also heartbreaking because he's like playing the thought is almost there, and then he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah. I was hoping that there would be like Futurama when they like get real dumb.
Well, he does a bit of that too, which is also just funny.
Yeah.
But he plays both sides really well.
Good. That actor's amazing.
But basically, like, what happened to him is precisely what DeVoe is trying to do to the planet.
Mm-hmm.
My big problem with this season, I think, is that I don't know what point it's trying to make. They're basically leading up to the idea that, like, DeVoe has forsaken emotion, and that's the variable that might bring him down. Right?
Yeah.
That's the one thing he hasn't accounted for. It's the thing he thinks is a weakness, but it's a strength. That's clearly the overarching thing. But I don't know that that's true, because every time they run on instinct or they do something by gut, someone has gotten killed this season. There's like a trail of bodies of people they've failed this year, like a dozen of them. They started out, we're going to save a dozen metahumans, and they've failed every single one of them. And it's not that I think DeVoe is right. I don't, but it feels like a really like muddy, like theme, like a muddy moral.
Yeah.
And I just don't know where the team goes from here, like how they come out of this. Where does season 5 go? I don't want another speedster villain, but like, I would rather just Grodd be the big bad, and he wants to devolve the human race and make them apes again, or like,
that'd be better.
Shit like that. As opposed
are you worried that they're jumping the shark? Is that?
No, not at all. I almost feel like they didn't. They didn't go far enough. I feel like for a character called the Thinker, who has always been a step ahead, who's orchestrated every single event that's happened this season, this plan feels really simple.
Considering
it doesn't feel like it's targeted, or like it feels very underthought.
Well, especially considering like what they did
the
with
writers didn't know what his plan should be, and then they were like, fuck, we should actually reveal what the ultimate thing of this enlightenment is.
But like, especially considering what they did with Eobard Thawne, like that was so smart and
very nuanced.
Yeah.
Like he was villainous, but he just wanted to go home. Then he was willing to give but also like he wanted to do that,
playing two characters, and like I just thought like that was really well orchestrated and put together.
Yeah, I'm still watching it. I still enjoy The Flash, but I'm missing that first season magic, and even season 2 was pretty good. But that first season is just such like a well written. They balanced the like villain of the week with the big arc. They had a great motivation for the villain. I don't have that this season. It's like really lacking.
Colin, have you ever watched the first season of The Flash? I think you might like it.
It's actually
I haven't yet.
I think you might like it.
Is it on
Netflix?
American Netflix, maybe.
Can you let me speak for myself, Richard? God,
I knew what you were going to say, though. I just like when we finish each other's
life sentences.
It's close enough.
So if I kill somebody,
you'll take care of that for me. That's all I wanted to say before the season finale comes out, which may or may not wow me, is that I feel a little underwhelmed with just what this season has done. I had I had big hopes for it.
You want to get me into a show that I'm not going to watch past the first season.
You don't need to watch it past the first season.
The first season is almost like a self-contained show. Yeah. It's great.
Perfect. It's perfect.
It is, actually. Yeah.
Before we move forward, there's something that I know. I know this is Dr. DC. But I feel like we'd be remiss if we don't talk about it. Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
Because this is a triumph for...
Spoilers ahead?
Yeah. Spoilers. Give us like 5 minutes for this. Thank you.
Yeah, the spoilers part. Yeah.
Because this is a triumph for comic books, like for our culture. This is our culture.
This is a triumph for our culture. Jesus.
I know. I'm grandstanding a little bit.
White
but
guys in khaki cargo shorts.
Fucking hyperbole.
Okay.
Triumph for our culture.
But
Jesus.
That's the outfit of your people.
It's a good movie.
But no, I mean, the fact is it's like it's 11 years of work coming together, like in like watching original Iron Man. I never thought that we would get to like.
I just want to say though, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
It's been like a big culmination of a lot of things. But the thing that I find a little bit frustrating is that we shouldn't be having this discussion now because they only gave us half a movie. Avengers Infinity War is half of a movie.
It's half a movie because you know it's half a movie and the
Yes.
way that it ends.
Yes. Everything about it is half a movie.
No. But I mean, like, if it came out and it was just
But it didn't. That's
fuck
my
you,
point.
the bad guys win.
But it didn't. And that's my point. We went into that knowing what was coming. We know
but-
Avengers 4 is the second half. We even know that there's time travel involved because we've seen the set photos where they recreate the first Avengers.
But I knew that Harry Potter the last movie was going to be 2 movies, but I was still very happy with the first half.
Yeah, but we weren't talking about the triumph of Harry Potter until the series was done. That's what I mean. I don't think this conversation is like wrong. I just like we should wait until the story is done. We're like it's like halfway through the movie you're like, "Hey, can we just pause it? Just pause it." This is a triumph of cinema.
But it can work as its own movie.
It can, but it isn't. It's half of a movie.
I just
So
think that it
I wanna
deserves
hold
to
off.
be its own movie.
And here's the thing. I really enjoyed Infinity War. I think it's great.
Because I loved it.
I loved it too, but I felt nothing because I know there's a second half. Now, here's the thing though. In that second half, if a character doesn't come back or ones that freshly die that I know their contracts are up, but they won't come back or things like that I am positive I will have an emotional reaction to. But all of the deaths in Infinity War, with the exception of Loki, I felt nothing.
I'm pretty sure that anybody who didn't die from little particle-y things is dead.
Well, and you'll notice too, all of the original Avengers made it out of that.
Yes.
So getting the old band back together to save the universe.
Yes.
Cap, Iron Man, Banner, Black Widow. I mean, we don't see Clint, but we assume he's fine.
Yeah.
But maybe his family isn't. Like the original Avengers,
And that
will be back.
Yeah, and that post-credit sequence.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I don't want it to come off like I didn't like it, but like I just didn't feel anything because it's not done. It's half a movie, and I know a bunch of
that Loki
shit is
death. I was like, damn.
That's the only one that I felt anything for.
Well, and it was the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Again, I love the movie, but everyone's like, "Oh my god, I cried so much," but it's like,
Okay, that Spider-Man scene though.
It didn't do it.
Really?
There's another Spider-Man movie coming out. He's fine.
I know, but it's still the way that he went. I mean,
I kind of wish we lived in a world where we didn't know what movies were coming out. Where they didn't have to announce it and build like the marketing like 3 years in advance, because that way something like that would actually be impactful. You know what I mean? Like it kind of ruins that experience a little bit.
I definitely agree with that.
If we get to the end of like whatever Avengers 4 is called, and Spider-Man was still dead, then I'd be like, wait, what the fuck? And then like if they were like, oh yeah, in the new Spider-Man movie, someone else takes up the mantle, that would be a huge twist, and I'd be like, holy shit, they did it. But because like we live in this world where like you have to build the marketing so far in advance to get people excited, to make sure people buy tickets, it kind of undercuts like things you can do that are narratively interesting.
What do you think about Gamora then?
I mean, she's clearly not dead. We see her in the Soul World.
But that doesn't. I mean, that was her as a child, though.
Yeah, but that's her soul, though. Like she's not gone. And I think the directors even like in the aftermath of the movie definitively said that she's still alive in the Soul World.
Oh.
Again, because we live in a world where no one can just like wait for a movie and then the movie comes out and then like everything is like instant. We're all talking about it all the time, including us right now. Yeah, it just bugged me. Like if I didn't know what the lineup of movies was and then I watched Infinity War, then I'd be like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like, and that Spider-Man one would definitely have hit me more. Or, the Groot one, dead again.
How much did you like Teen Groot though?
Oh, I love Teen
Groot was really funny.
Yeah.
The I am Groot.
Oh, language.
That was so good.
Yeah.
And the way that they treated when Thor showed up and to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Star-Lord's just like...
Star-Lord's like deepening his voice.
I always talk like this.
Yeah. Thor's entrance in that big final battle is crazy.
Yeah.
His like...
Should have went for the head.
Well, yeah, him fighting Thanos. Like the Hulk Thanos fight at the beginning, I was like, oh damn. Like stuff like that got me more than any of the deaths did.
There was a lot of like, oh shit.
Like
yeah.
Thanos beating the shit out of the Hulk got me more than people dying. Or like the Doctor Strange Thanos fight where they're like bending reality and Thanos breaks the mirror dimension and like throws a black hole out of it. Like that shit, I was like, oh my god. Or he throws the moon. The deaths didn't do it, but it was all that other stuff I was super pumped about. I thought it was really cool, but no.
It was a great movie, and it's probably my favorite Avengers
All
movie.
I'm saying is I want to wait until the fourth one comes out and this story is done for us to say that it's a triumph of cinema.
I just think it's a triumph because the fact is that they set out to have all of those movies connect, and they did. And they were all good enough to continue on with what their plan was.
Yeah, but we literally could have said that at any point along the way.
No, because it finally happened. Like, they finally all were in a movie together.
He meant in the line of your guys' discussion.
Oh. I just mean that, like, DC hasn't been able to properly do it.
Yeah. And again, like, and maybe they shouldn't try. Like, maybe, I think all they should do is, like, you can reference that they're in the same world, but maybe they don't have to be interconnected.
I think the biggest lesson that DC's hopefully learned at this point is that it doesn't need to be like Marvel.
Yeah.
And that what they do is Marvel different, and that's special.
Marvel did something that hadn't been done that is unique, and they need to do something else.
I'm assuming that it's like stockholders and things like that they keep trying to do that because look, people are pointing at Marvel.
How much money they're making.
Yeah. But I think they're slowly coming around to realizing that...
Do you know who I really want to get this message, though, that you don't need to replicate Marvel? Is Universal. Just
oh my God.
Let the Dark Universe die. I read a thing that it might not actually be dead, even though Dracula Untold was supposed to start
Good
it,
God.
and then it didn't. And then
the Mummy
was supposed to,
and that wasn't good.
Just let it go, man.
If Tom Cruise can't save it.
You don't need to put the Wolfman and the Invisible Man and the creature from the Black Lagoon and Jekyll and Hyde and the Mummy Puncher
Jekyll, Hyde, Jekyll, Hyde, Jekyll.
Team together. Because it took all the fun out of the Mummy and just made it like a generic action movie. You know, like, I would much rather watch Brendan Fraser do
That's still the better Mummy.
Scream in a mummy's face.
That's still the better Mummy.
It's a great movie. Yeah,
I love it. Anyways, we're done now. I needed to at least talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, you can find us. No, I'm just kidding. Now on to this week's.
Sorry. Just before we do that, I got so up on my soapbox, I forgot to ask an important question about Infinity War. Not necessarily. Doesn't have to be a death. What was the biggest surprise for you?
One, I didn't know that the Giant was going to be in it.
Oh, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, yes.
Eitri.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't know that Eitri, the king of giants or whatever his actual...
Isn't
he's a
Dinklage
dwarf, technically.
Yes.
Small person?
Yeah. No, he's a giant.
No, they call them like dwarves, the dwarves that man the forge. They say it in the
But I think that
But he is giant compared to Thor in them. But they're like space dwarves, so they're just bigger than
he is the dwarf king, but they are giant dwarves. Okay. Anyways, yes, I that was a huge surprise for me. I definitely didn't expect that. I didn't expect Loki to die right away.
I think I did.
Really?
Because that was the only logical end to me, because he was the one that was like supposed to get the Tesseract for Thanos in the first place, and he failed that. I was like, there's no way he gets out of this okay.
I think that the biggest surprise in the entire thing, though, is that we didn't get more legit deaths.
Right.
Because, I mean, this whole thing is...
disintegrated.
That's what I mean. Like, because I don't consider that. I mean, there's no way that they kill, like, Spider-Man. Like, no one's that dumb. Like, that didn't have an impact on me. But for me, there's been so much hype about who was going to die during this. And that, like, it's like, oh, there's no way Cap's getting out. I mean, he already said that he didn't want to do this anymore.
This is what I mean. I feel like Avengers 4 is where we'll get some, like, legit deaths. possibly Cap, possibly Stark, because those are people that are moving on. Like, they won't be in movies anymore.
That's what I mean. Like, obviously they have to die.
So
like
Avengers 4, I think, is where we'll get those, and I'll probably feel something.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest surprise was...
Also, you're dead inside, so yeah.
Well, yeah. To me, the biggest surprise was Red Skull.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the same actor, but that was a cool, like...
Red Skull showing up on Vormir.
Because it was like, what happened to him?
Officially confirming that he was not disintegrated, but teleported at the end of the first Captain America movie.
Yes.
And he, like, he doesn't seem like a Nazi anymore. He seems like he's just the protector of the Soul Stone. That was
the thing that he wanted the most and he could never have. Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
I loved what they did with the Soul Stone in general. Like, I think that was
It surprised me that he got the Soul Stone. I thought that was going to be like he would get 5 of the stones and kill a bunch of people, and then the 4th movie would be like, we have one way to beat him, is that he doesn't have this thing yet. But then he got the Soul Stone part like halfway through the movie. I was like, oh shit! Like, is he gonna get all of them?
Yeah, that
actually surprised me that he got them all. I was expecting a lot of death, but I sort of thought they were like a stone would escape his grasp, and that was their way to beat him in the next movie.
Because
like, I don't know what their play is.
He did in the Justice League, like, didn't he get all of it?
In Justice
Or sorry, I'm in DC mode. I can't help it. In the Avengers, like the animated series, he got it.
I'd never watched the animated.
Oh, yeah. They do basically the same thing, and they all fight on.
Well, and there's a comic series called Infinity Quest or something like that.
That sounds like a fantasy.
Or maybe it's just called Infinity Gauntlet.
Maybe. I think that's what it is.
It's the story that ends with the snap.
But I didn't expect it to end with him. It's like, and he won. And then he got what he wanted.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But do you think that it was all part of like the plan?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think you throw in that Doctor Strange's line researching alternate futures.
Yeah.
He's like, there's only one way we win. And then he makes a point as he's disintegrating to say this was the only way. Like, that has to be the plan. Even if Stark doesn't know it.
I'm just fascinated to know how. Like, what's the genius behind it? Like,
yeah,
that's gonna be good. Yeah. I'm really, really excited.
Yeah.
Now on to this week's theme.
We don't hate Marvel.
No, not at all.
War.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Oh, comics. Whoa, whoa.
You trying to be Robin Williams? What are you doing here?
No,
oh.
Your Robin Williams impression is just low octave Mickey.
Oh.
Oh.
Actually pretty accurate.
Like, that's all you do.
Right? It works though, right?
Did we just crack the Robin Williams impression?
Oh, hey Minnie.
It's so bad.
Now do the scene from Good Will Hunting where he talks to him about losing his wife as Mickey the Mouse, but with a lower octave. Go.
I don't think I can do. I don't have a line.
She used to fart in her sleep, huh?
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Not you too. Oh no, it's me talking. I can't do Donald Duck. Yeah,
it's not your fault.
Jesus.
Oh, I'm so sorry to the memory and the family of Robin Williams.
Not you.
Our theme this week is war, but specifically we're going to be talking about war comics. It's a whole genre of comic books that is sort of parallel to, sometimes connected to superheroes, but it's its own genre. It's about like soldier stories and war stories and things just told in the comic medium. So in the way that we've touched on romance comics before, which are sort of like its own genre, same with war comics. And this was like a fan like idea. Like I was receiving requests to do an episode on war comics, which is why it's happening.
Was it just one fan?
No, it was 2.
Oh, in that case. Overwhelming amount of fans.
Holy Christ, that's half our fans.
Yeah, that's right.
Was one of them your
If you want me to do something on this show, get a friend. And then I'll
do you not know our fans? It's harder than you think.
Don't alienate them further.
Hey, they're one of us.
But yeah, so
sometimes 2.
Rarely, but sometimes.
We're going to talk about war comics.
Let's
get into it.
So let's go over to Twitter.
Twitter.
Nice.
Reading Doonesbury asks, things that haven't aged well in the DC canon. A war comic featuring cameos from the ghost of a Confederate general, But man, cringeworthy as it is now, I loved the Haunted Tank back in the day. Never missed an issue.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
This is one of my favorites.
The Haunted Tank was like a feature of a bunch of different war comic series, and it featured basically a soldier named Jeb Stewart, who is accompanied by the ghost of an ancestor who, yes, was a Confederate general, and his name is like, I forget his name, but the initials are Jeb. He's like J.E.B. Stewart, and he's a Confederate general, and he basically, like haunts this tank. Although they did have multiple tanks over the run of it. But yeah, so like this company of soldiers and this ghost basically fight evil, like other armies, or sometimes they'd come up against paranormal things or stuff like that. There's I'm not going to remember precisely when it happened, but there's a later run in which instead of being set during the Second World War, the Haunted Tank was like more modern. And basically it's like a further descendant of the Stewart family who happens to be part black. And then this Confederate general ancestor shows up, and basically like the guy's like, I don't know that I'm comfortable with you haunting me because slavery.
Yeah.
And the general's like, I'm honor bound to protect my family, which is like a way of saying like, if we weren't related, I would not be helping.
Yeah. A loophole got me here.
That to me is maybe the most interesting modern version of that. Like, I think that had to have been a deliberate choice when they were like, oh, we're going to keep doing the Haunted Tank. They're like, how do we bring a Confederate general into like a more modern story? That I find interesting. That sort of like relationship where maybe they don't want each other around, or he doesn't want to help, but he has to, or things like that. That's, I think, maybe the only approach to take to quote unquote age a character, like that into the modern age. But yeah, I mean, those Haunted Tank comics, they're just kind of ridiculous, right? Because on the one hand, they're like relatively serious soldier comics, and then on the other hand, there's a ghost, and they sometimes come up against paranormal, like enemies and things like that. So it's kind of like a weird blend. I wouldn't say it's like the superhero. It's almost more bordering on like the horror genre, like some sort of blend of war and horror. And I think as we go through this episode, we'll find that those two genres actually cross over quite a bit, because there's another series relatively recent that was called Star Spangled War Stories, featuring G.I. Zombie, who was a zombie soldier. So
that's amazing.
I think there is crossover between horror and war, which...
Horror?
Wow, I'm drunk. War and horror.
Also known as war.
And not just because of like the obvious like horrors of war sort of thing, but I think it's that, if you're touching on things that are frightening and disturbing and like visually graphic and things like that, the line between what we expect from a horror film and what we expect from a war film is pretty thin, really. It's just whether or not it's paranormal, mostly. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of crossover there, and the Haunted Tank is kind of like a classic, iconic version of that.
We got Joe Crawford.
All right.
He asks, why did the books that were launched in the New 52 fail? Do you think with some tweaking that they might have succeeded? Is there room in Rebirth, or whatever DC calls it now, for Sergeant Rock and the Blackhawks? What should be done to make it work? Thanks.
Yes, Blackhawks.
Delicious Blackhawks.
I love that I have to like enunciate every fucking syllable for this.
Yeah. Yeah, we're really making you earn that cheddar.
I did actually just cash the check for the Teespring.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are we going to get with her? Like $20?
Yeah, $20.
Shuck you. Yeah, so I'll take this question piece by piece. In the New 52, when they launched 52 titles. So a bunch of these were superhero ones. And then there were also a number of like sort of genre comics, and most of them were war ones. So there was Star Spangled War Stories featuring G.I. Zombie. There was Men of War. There was Blackhawks. There was I think there was
big giant Blackhawks.
There was a Sergeant Rock one or something like that. Oh no, sorry, Sergeant Rock was in Men of War.
Blackhawks.
But basically, none of these war comics made it past 7 or 8 issues. They all were among the first to get canceled. Just low sales. Now, why they got canceled? It's hard to say definitively, like why there wasn't readership for them.
Don't hold back.
Well, I just mean like I just don't know that I necessarily have the expertise to
don't hold back,
pinpoint it. But I think part of it is that
no won't back down, baby.
In the modern world,
there ain't really way. Yeah.
It might be difficult to portray war in a way that is both honest and fantastic. All of those New 52 ones introduced some element of either like meta-humans or ghosts or the afterlife or powers, as well as trying to be like faithful war genre comics. And I don't know if our current sort of mindset as like readers is to mix those two things, like to take something that we know definitively is horrific, like war, and then be like, but there's a fun ghost. Like
there's a fun ghost.
I have a suspicion that maybe what readers would have wanted was just a war comic. Would have wanted that more. Like, for example, before doing this episode, I reread the entire New 52 run of Men of War. That is a comic that features a character called Sergeant Rock, who, thank you, is a classic war comic character. Although the original Sergeant Rock is Sergeant Frank Rock. He fought in the Second World War, and this comic was set modern.
He was like the big, like character, I think, in the war comic.
He was one of sort of two.
When you look up, and he's the thing that comes up the most.
The Blackhawks were also giant.
I mean, yeah, giant Blackhawks everywhere.
I mean, the biggest.
Yeah, it's hard to see anything else most of the time. I got 2 words for you.
But this Sergeant Rock was his grandson, Sergeant Joe Rock. But in the middle of this run of what is
Dwayne Johnson, Sergeant Rock,
what is essentially like a pretty honest war comic, and it's trying its best to be really sort of true to the tension, the emotions, and that sort of thing. There's all of these things with like superpowers, or like they meet a guy who fought like Napoleon. Like there's all these other elements in there. And it's not that I don't think those things can work together, but I just wonder if maybe audiences don't want that. They want like one or the other. You either have superheroes definitively or you have a war comic. Even if they exist in the same world, I don't know that they like that blend. That's just my opinion. Like
I'm sure there's lots of different types of blending they didn't like back in those times.
No, this is a modern comic. It was fine.
Oh,
it's not the Confederate general. It's not the Hunt.
Oh, okay.
So that aside, the fact that those books failed, why don't we talk a little bit about the 2 that he brought up? So Sergeant Rock, like you said, that's a major war comic character. Sergeant Frank Rock and Easy Company. That was his like crew. Those were his soldiers, and they showed up in a whole bunch of different books from like Our Army at War and Men of War and Star Spangled War Tales and like all these different comic books, like anthologies that were out. He's he's among the most iconic, I think, just soldier characters in the entire DC canon, possibly in all of comic books.
I think so. Yeah.
The only reason that I brought up the Blackhawks as well is that...
Can't get him out of your head.
Well, once you go Blackhawks.
Yes!
I'm so ashamed. But yeah, that book was originally published by Quality Comics, which later was bought by DC.
Yeah.
But... through like 1940 to 1960, there were only 4 characters, I think, 4 or 5 characters that could hold down their own solo book. They weren't just in an anthology like More Fun Comics or Adventure Comics or something. Those 4 characters were Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Blackhawk.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought.
At one point during the war, the only book that outsold Blackhawk was Superman. So that was a huge character. People really like, and Blackhawk is the leader of a team that are also called the Blackhawks, but they're all like ace pilots, and they operate off of Blackhawk Island in the Atlantis. I really can't escape saying this. Fuck, I'm waiting for you to say something. Yeah, they operate off of Blackhawk Island in the middle of the Pacific, but they're basically like a team of like ace pilots. This is the property that Steven Spielberg is coming on as a director to do like a live action film all over.
Blackhawk Down?
No, we've already made this joke.
Blackhawk Up.
In my dreams.
This is gonna be a tough episode to get through.
Like the last one?
But yeah, Sergeant Rock
Or all the previous.
Sergeant Rock and the Blackhawks are both, I think, like iconic war comic properties. I do think that there is a place in like the Rebirth continuity for them, but specifically because the Blackhawks were introduced again during DC Metal, and sort of tied a little bit to Hawkman and Hawkgirl. So those, I think you could reasonably expect that team to come back, but I think given the context of what happened in DC Metal, they put Blackhawk Island as like a nexus point of like dark energies and things like it became like a really important location for the multiverse. So I think if they did a series moving forward, they'd have to address the fact that like they basically made that team have some sort of cosmic purpose, that in addition to being like ace fighter pilots, they were also sort of like protecting the Earth from the dark multiverse, which might be an interesting thing to balance, or it might run into that problem that I just talked about, and maybe people just want their war comics to be war comics. But
Kid Caballero asks,
Kid Caballero!
By the way,
We're allowed to do this now.
he tweeted and said he's not a fan.
In fact, he likes it because it's like he has his own theme song.
am I saying his name right?
Kid Caballero?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently he has two siblings.
And so...
The three Caballeros.
Holy shit.
Right?
Amazing.
Although he's Cuban, he's not Mexican.
Still, Kid Caballero! Yeah.
Oh, that got sadder. That wasn't a good
I know, I'm not fully committed. I still feel bad.
He likes it.
Well, he doesn't hate it. I think there's...
He said it's like he has his own theme song.
Well, yeah.
If I started making like behind it, that would be not good. But I think the gunshots is okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, let's just do the question.
Oh, Lord.
God damn it. So would war comics be popular in the DCU itself? Like how in Watchmen, they don't have superhero comics because what's the point in a world full of superheroes, but have at least horror pirate comics?
Did you make it through that? You really didn't like that question.
So because Colin hasn't read anything, other than the 8 things we've given him to read over the course of this show.
Oh, great. Now I got another fucking thing to read.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that later. But, in the Watchmen universe, because there are
I've seen the Watchmen movie.
Okay. So because there are actual costume vigilantes, the idea is that like there aren't superhero comics, but also like the in the book, you get these cutaways of a comic book someone is reading, and it's like a horror pirate like comic book. It's not superheroes. So what he's asking is, in the actual DC universe, like where all of these characters exist, do I think war comics would be popular? Because they live in a world full of fantastic
beasts and where to find them.
Yes. Like, would anyone be interested in reading a war comic? I don't have a definitive answer for that, but what I will say is that we know that comic books in general are important within the DC universe, because superhero comic books are like the windows to parallel Earths. The idea is that because all of the parallel Earths are on different like vibrational planes, that a creative individual, like their imagination is receiving sort of subconscious versions of like specific real world events from a different Earth, and then they're writing them down in a comic book. So then when these parallel Earth versions meet each other in a series like Multiversity, they're saying like, oh, no, wait, this is me. Like, I did this. Like, I remember this fight. So those like fictional things are actually like part of the fabric of the multiverse in DC. So if that applies to the exploits of superheroes, then what I would say is, if war comics existed, if they were like financially sustainable, you would likely see stories from that would be true on parallel Earths. You'd be seeing the war stories of Earth 5 or, Earth 26 or whatever.
Yeah.
That would be how those would work. I don't know whether or not they'd be popular to citizens, but if they existed, they would have a deeper purpose. Yeah.
Good answer. Good question.
Are you asking?
Kirk Spencer asks, as a child, the war comics were what caused me to really fall in love with comics. Do you feel like readers are missing out not having them available now?
I'm impressed that that's what made you fall in love with comics. I didn't know someone who had gone in that way. I'd be curious to know what the story is behind.
Like introed from.
Yeah, Kirk, reach out. I'd be curious to know how that was the way that you got brought in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the focus of our show is DC Comics. That's pretty broad, but
what?
But it
Who?
But it ultimately leads back to
episode 3
to superheroes. Well, yeah, and that joke leads back to episode 3. We always come back to the superhero genre. It's important to remind ourselves that comic books as a medium are capable of telling more stories than that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the superhero genre tries to remind us of that. Like you get a Superman story where it's less about his powers and more about him just interacting with people or him at home on the Kent farm or something like that. But it's also important to have literal stories that don't feature superheroes. So war comics is an important part of that. Romance comics is an important part of that. There are lots of indie comics that deal with war and things like that. Like the idea of the war comic isn't dead. Like, for example, The Sheriff of Babylon, which is a Tom King, creator-owned book. Tom King, who currently writes Batman. That's a terrific comic. I think Tom King himself, I think he was a soldier, or he was involved with the CIA or the FBI or something like that. Like he has a history in that world. So I think that he writes what he knows, and I think he's pretty truthful in his writing about it.
Does he have paperwork to back him up? Kind of like, your PhD?
He arguably has more paperwork than I do.
Yeah, because I am still waiting on that.
Don't
PhD.
worry about it. It's in the mail.
You keep saying that.
It's in the mail.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of the DC universe, currently, yeah, we're sort of in a dearth of genre comics, I guess you could say. I think romance comics have gotten. I was reminded of this by Chad Bokelman.
Bogle.
Was that there's a recent Deadman miniseries that was basically a romance comic that featured Deadman.
Really?
There's a Swamp Thing one as well.
Swamp Thing for some reason has always been tied to romance.
Well, the original appearance of Swamp Thing was this sort of neo-gothic horror.
Yeah.
That was a guy.
God, Guillermo really needs to get Swamp Thing.
Right?
Neo-gothic horror, and I'm just oh, you mean a Guillermo thing?
Yeah, exactly. So romance comics still creep in. I mean, the way in which war comics creep in is that the superheroes are always fighting. There are soldier characters like Steve Trevor or things like that are in there. But the genre itself is kind of missing right now, at least on the DC end of things. I'm hopeful to see maybe the Blackhawk team come back in some form. It would be awesome to see Sergeant Rock. But I don't know. I do think it's a bit of a problem because just like you said, you started reading war comics and then maybe came to other genres. And that's probably because at some point those genres intersected, Sergeant Rock teamed up with Superman or whatever.
God, what a one-sided.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Someone's bringing more to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got guns. I don't know.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Does napalm help here? I don't know.
Freeze breath. But that should hopefully work the other way, that if someone is reading a superhero comic, you would hope that they get then exposed to those intersecting genres and then develop an interest in something else, like horror or romance or war comics. So yeah, I do think it's to a detriment when we don't have those things on the market, but finding a way to make them financially sustainable, narratively relevant to the modern age, because we live in a different time than when war comics were super popular. So I think there's a lot of factors in there. I don't think it's impossible. I just don't think they figured it out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a second half of this
question. Kirk has a second part to this question.
Well, I don't know. I never know if you're fucking paying attention.
I'm on it. I'm the fucking news guy and the questions guy. You guys are the talk about it guys. Guy, do you prefer the realism of an artist?
Did DeVoe's like plan work, or are you getting dumber?
Oh my
Are
god,
you regressing?
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, they brought it all the way up to Canada. Go fuck yourself. Do you prefer the realism of an artist like Russ Heath or a different style such as Joe Kubert?
For war comics, I don't own a ton of war comics. A bunch of the ones that I do, Joe Kubert is the artist, so I'm kind of like used to his art style. I think in general, because the material itself, if it's written well, can be so heavy. You know, like if you're writing like a really truthful war comic, then there's some horrible things in there, and I think what I prefer is maybe like a less realistic art style, something a bit more. You get the impression, or rather than it being like a perfect version of like a human face or a perfect version of a landscape, I like almost like that Mike Mignola thing, like in Hellboy, where it's just like shadows and shapes. So you kind of get the sense or the feel of the place. And that's also, I think, that leans into the medium of comic books too, right? Like if you want something that's photorealistic, then maybe you should make a movie. If you want something that can maybe express the emotion on like a more sort of visceral level, then you should treat the comic book more like pieces of art, like paintings or things like that. And I think I generally prefer art styles that lean a little less hyper realistic. I mean, there's obviously a balance in there. I still want to recognize like that a person is a person. I don't need it to be like complete expressionism or like just like blotches on a page, but I do like the sort of more evocative kind of art style. I think that's kind of, you're nodding a lot, Colin. I know the art style is always your big thing when you're reading a comic.
Yeah, I think for me, as you said before, with if you want it to be more photorealistic, make a movie. And definitely for comic books and obviously the animated series of things, I much, much prefer the inference sometimes than the actual interpretation of something.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's like still room for imagination, right? You're not given
it's like visual jazz. It's like the lines are not right.
Didn't we cut his microphone?
We can't. He's the producer.
Absolute power.
And we're in his house.
Yeah. Fuck you guys. I'm the captain now.
But yeah, so I mean, I think
the captain now.
For example, if I were going to get Colin to read a war comic, I might not give him one that Russ Heath worked on, because I know Colin's taste in artwork, and I think he wouldn't like it as much.
I'd probably be
And
bored.
I think I tend to agree with Colin in that context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a question from Puffed Cheek Pastries.
Yeah.
Love her.
Let's do it.
Our favorite cheek pastries.
Of all the pastries that we would get questions from, puffed cheeks are the best.
Indeed.
Great ad.
Are there any classic or contemporary stories that hold gravitas and almost seem like a visual diary for a personal experience, or do most have camp and exaggeration like older comics often had?
Ooh,
great question.
That's a great question. I mean, it would be disingenuous of me to imply that I've read the bulk of war comics, because I haven't. That's not the genre I follow the most. I have a few war comics. I've read quite a number of them, but certainly not the whole host. I'm sure there is a comic out there that is like really truthful, like full of kind of weight and honesty about the experience of war. My experience with the genre, specifically with DC Comics war comics, is that it either came from an era where the patriotism thing was super important. So as dire as things got, their stick-to-itiveness or their, grit or their like sometimes like willful disobedience of the chain of command would like lead to victory. Or then on the flip side, you get that real like weird thing where New 52 Men of War, I think, almost is super accurate. You get the sense that Sergeant Rock in that series has some serious like sort of PTSD that he's working through. He has a dying mother that he refuses to visit. He prefers
Martha.
That would be a huge reveal. That would be a huge reveal. Like all of the narrative like captions are him like detaching himself from emotions, which I think is a truthful experience for like soldiers in war, that you like, if you're going to make it through some of the things you have to do or that you have to witness, you kind of have to sever that part of yourself or partition it off, at least in the short term. It's a thing you have to ultimately deal with. And this particular soldier, Sergeant Rock, is not dealing with it, which I think is also truthful to a lot of people's experience. But then at the same time, they're encountering like impossibly old, like Civil War soldiers. They're people with superpowers. There's like a guy that can like explode energy out of himself. And to me, it takes all of that good work of starting to build that character. And then you just say like, but it doesn't fucking matter because these guys, no matter how honorable, no matter how committed, they just can't compete. Like, it's the opposite of how I would feel about those comics where like the Justice Society was helping the soldiers in the Second World War. Like they were like deferring to the soldiers. The soldiers were the most important and they were the heroes and they were just there to help out. Like the Flash could run supplies for them or something. But then in this like postmodern kind of world, like new war comics, you're really like, they're really hitting you over the head with the reality that like these soldiers are like outdated. They're outmoded. Like what could you possibly do in the face of that? And like maybe that sort of stick-to-itiveness that was admirable in that patriotism era is now like pretty stupid. Like why keep fighting? You know? I mean,
True.
I'm not a soldier and never have been. So I'm not at all going to pretend like I understand what the soldier's experience is. But if as a reader, I want to get the whole like nuance, but I still want to ultimately understand why people do it. And I feel like in those modern comics, I don't get why they're still soldiers. You know, like in the context of the world they're in, I don't see why they're doing it. Whereas in those sort of older ones, as hokey as the patriotism is, I get it. That was the thing they believed in. That was like the reason to do it. Like there's almost more purpose in the campy older ones than there is in like the new grimy ones.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, the Dr. DC podcast will be right back after this quick break.
I'm gonna hurt you in front of her. I'm gonna hurt her in front of you. I'm gonna find you.
It puts a lotion in the basket. Do you want to fuck me? I want to fuck you.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Co. They sent us some products to try, and they're amazing. I've never used the beard oil or the beard balm, but I use the pine tar soap and the hair styling cream. You think these are ears? It's really just how I style my hair. I heard them talking about Infinity War, which I own. So that I came over to lend a hand to do their ad for them. Figure, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Eventually I'll own this podcast too, and all of DC, Then everything will be mine. And you'll all think the way that I think, sorry, I'm off the script. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use, rain or shine. All their products are purposefully designed and environmentally responsible. They're handmade in Canada, ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And you lucky listeners, you get 10% off on Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products, All you have to do is go to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and use the promo code Dr. DC Podcast. That's www.greatlakesgrooming.com. Use the promo code DRDC Podcast. And now, on to the show.
Oh my God. Who's that at the door? What? Oh, we're sued. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
What was that? Was that infringement?
Yeah. We're back. Oh, shit.
We're back somehow. The cease and desist didn't stick.
Oh, can't stop us. Oh my God. Okay. Well, before we come back, I have a
I
surprise.
thought we were already back.
Before we move on.
What a roller coaster.
Before we move forward, I have a surprise.
You have okay.
I have a surprise for Colin.
Oh, okay.
I have a game. That's right.
All right.
I've got a game for Colin. You can play too, but this is really meant for Colin. We're going to play a game called DC Wartime or Power Metal. So the rule is it's either going to be the name of a power metal band or a DC Wartime character.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. Yeah.
And you have to tell me which one you think it is.
I like this.
Okay? If the doctor knows it,
I'm not going to say anything. I want Colin to do this.
No. But if you know it, then you can explain what it is.
Okay.
If you don't know it, then I will explain.
Sure.
So the first one, Battle Beast. Is that a power metal band or a wartime DC character?
Wartime DC character.
That's incorrect. Battle Beast is a Finland metal band known for winning 2 major band competitions. Next one, Axis America.
Oh,
The C is a K.
it's gonna be a DC wartime thing.
Do you know?
I think it is DC. Access America?
Do you know what it is?
I probably should. I don't. I don't have this teed up in my brain.
It's a DC thing. It's it was a team of costume Axis agents who engaged in subversive activities in the United States during World War II.
Does it include Captain Nazi, who we've talked about before?
I don't know. I didn't write that much information.
Oh, okay.
Why are you doing the metal voice?
Don't worry about it.
You sound like the Bat Dad on Instagram.
How about Crimson Avenger?
Oh, that's 100% a DC thing.
That's right.
The
Crimson Avenger.
The Crimson Avenger.
We talked about this one.
I don't know if we have or not, but the Crimson Avenger is like a pulp sort of era hero. He's like a vigilante. He's just a human with like a gadget gun and like a red coat. Basically.
They have brought him back, and it's now a woman.
Yes, yeah, and also the Crimson Avenger does make a brief cameo appearance in Justice League Unlimited in that cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Name Lee Travis, Golden Age cloaked vigilante who fought crime using a gas gun. Next one, Gamma Ray.
Oh, that's a metal band.
It's from 1989, present known as one of the most prominent bands of the German heavy metal scene.
They're known for that.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep saying that. All these things I've never heard of.
Next one, White Lions.
Oh, that's a metal band.
This feels like a DC thing.
It's totally a DC
Feels
thing.
like a white supremacist thing.
Oh, because they needed to for sure know that in 1930s that these are White Lions.
Yeah.
The White Lions were a Russian fighting squadron acting on behalf of Nazi Germany in 1941.
Yeah, there you go.
Although most of the members were part of the Russian Air Force, the squadron was led by British turncoat Death Mayhew.
Yeah.
Death Mayhew.
That sounds like a band. Yeah.
Right? Jag Panzer.
That's got to be a band, right?
That's a DC thing.
It's a band of the United States.
I was.
What are they known for?
They are known for anything.
Not much.
They have
a really great MySpace page.
Hold on, I just got a few more.
MySpace page.
I have just a few more I want to do. This one, The Unknown Soldier.
DC.
Definitely DC.
Do you know what the information?
There are two sort of versions. The pre-Flashpoint version of the Unknown Soldier was a soldier who was caught in an accident and like shrapnel and stuff like shredded his face, but he basically had like a talent for disguise and mimicry, and he just went by the Unknown Soldier, and he would do like sort of covert ops missions. In the New 52, the Unknown Soldier showed up, and it's sort of implied that he's vaguely metahuman, because I think he has like the ability to recall the skills and memories of past unknown soldiers.
Do you know why he's the Unknown Soldier?
He refuses to take a name. It's something to do with like being like the soldier in the right place at the right time. I don't remember the exact like reason, but
that's true.
Yeah.
Also, his face was destroyed by an explosion.
Well, I said that.
Yeah. Much like the real common soldiers, which are unknown because America treats their veterans very poorly.
Well, but the other thing with unknown soldiers is that, because of certain like casualties or explosions or things like that, they couldn't be identified. You couldn't guarantee that the remains that were being sent home belong to anyone
Yes.
in particular. That's the whole idea of like our world's unknown soldier memorials, is that there's all these people that, I mean, the families know that they didn't come back, but it can't be definitive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the unknown soldier means in our world. Yeah.
Here's another one, Colin. Rip graves.
Well, there's a grave digger in DC. I'm going to say banned.
Supposedly dead.
Supposedly
Dead in the Battle of Marne. In the First World War, Rip Graves operated in the Second World War as a masked superhero from the crypt beneath the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Oh, shit.
To then go on to be a very well-known metal band from Norway.
Yeah, they're known.
Well-known by everybody in the world.
Oh, shit. Okay, I didn't know that one.
Last one?
Yeah.
Storm Warrior.
That's a band.
Well, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the last question. There's a Captain Storm who's the leader of the Losers, which is a military team in DC Comics.
Who there are multiple members of, but...
But I think this is a band.
This is a band. Their debut album was produced by the members of Gamma Ray.
Oh my god. Fuck off.
Right?
Wow, full circle. What a fun game.
You ruined the last one, but the last one was Gravedigger, which is actually a trick question because it's both. Yeah.
No.
That was a good game. I like
no
that.
play out music for the game.
Yeah.
Call him one, I guess. I don't know.
All right,
Who gives a shit? Where the points don't count and whatever.
Go fuck yourself.
So we're gonna go over to
What a fun show.
Hope you had fun playing at home.
Instagram. We're still doing it.
We have one person asking questions, but boy, does he ask a lot of questions.
It's my favorite.
It's the guy who, if he had a poster, Richard would teeny bop put that on the ceiling of his bedroom.
Instead, I just made a character of him so I could look at him as much as I wanted
It's
to.
the real Josh Gill.
If you haven't seen the character,
Gill.
it's on Facebook. It looks cool.
I was our modest thank you for all the work that Josh Gill does for our show. He does all of our notes. He's basically like our bibliographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would have pathetic notes if it was not for Josh Gill.
Thank you.
He's what Super Todd
Since I was doing the notes before.
I think it was a combination of the two of us.
Josh Gill is what Super Todd wishes he could be.
Yeah, definitely.
Excuse me?
Listen, Todd, if you at all
Trust me, bro, if you had any idea.
I knew who Gamma Ray was. Loser.
Well, do you know what? Maybe you should work for them. We've replaced you with Josh Gill.
It makes sense. He's very attractive.
That's not why, but
It's not one of the reasons.
it's weird that both you and Richard feel that that's the most important thing about a person.
He's so hot.
Yeah, okay.
Goodbye.
See you, Todd.
What a good guy. Is he? I don't care. What was your introduction into war comics? Was it via DC or one of the other comics companies?
It's DC.
End question. Next question.
You know what? This is how shit should go down for Instagram questions.
No, wait.
So it wasn't something else?
What I'll say is
He gave you two options.
What I'll say is it was. I've read a few issues, like years and years and years ago, of Weird War Tales, which are ones that tended to incorporate like paranormal.
So
sort
it
of elements.
wasn't DC then?
No, that's DC.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, do you know what's funny? Do you remember how in the Romance Comics episode I said that Colin actually gave me a romance comic? Like he owned a DC comic. And
You know what? I didn't make a comment about that, but that's a romantic gesture.
So here's
the weird second half. Now we're doing a war comics episode. Colin has also given me an issue of DC's Weird War Tales.
What else did he give you? Jeez.
Well, I mean, legally, I'm not allowed to talk about that. But
He gave you Mickey Mouse. Oh, we're so super.
So yeah, that's how I got into war comics, was via DC and specifically via Weird War Tales.
So the one that
I'm going
Not
to
that one
Disney
specifically,
World.
but it made me think of it because the two comic books you had and then gave to me were these two genre ones, which I think is funny.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The other question that Josh Gill
One
has-
of the other questions.
Another question that Josh Gill had. Who would you rather have on your side? Captain Blackhawk, Unknown Soldier, or Sergeant Rock?
Right. So we've talked about Sergeant Rock and Unknown Soldier. Just a little bit of background on Captain Blackhawk. He's the leader of the team. Basically, his backstory is that he is like a Polish flying ace. And so when the Second World War breaks out, and we know how that goes for Poland, he tries to defend his homeland. He ends up like shot down, and his family gets killed. And he swears revenge on this, I think he's a colonel, like Colonel Von Tepp or something. And so he like starts this. There's a couple of different versions of his backstory, but in one of them, he and a bunch of other pilots are waiting to join the RAF, but because they're not British, there's all this like red tape and it's taking too long. So they make their own private air force, basically operate off this island in the Atlantic. And he takes on Von Tepp and like the German flying aces himself. He does beat Von Tepp, and then they go on to just be this like sort of paramilitary group that fights for good, and they've had other villains like Killer Shark and things like that, and they've come up against, I think they fought against the War Wheel and stuff like that before. But basically, Captain Blackhawk is the leader of that. He didn't have a name for a long time. Then they did give him one, but I can't remember what it is. It's like Joseph something, but yeah, so who would I want on my team? Like, I guess on my, like, army? Or is that what we mean by team? Who would I want?
Team could be a lot of things. Are
we putting together a super team? Or am I, like, do I want someone who will, like, lead a battalion? Like,
well, let's say lead a battalion.
Sure.
It makes sense for the
If it's lead a battalion, I think Sergeant Rock. He's the proven leader, the sort of courage under fire that, like, kind of inspiration to the troops sort of character, more than Captain Blackhawk, and certainly more than Unknown Soldier, who tends to work as a like lone operative. Who do I think is maybe like Unknown Soldier? I think is my second choice, because that sort of like Black Ops, like single soldier that disguises the mimicry. I mean, it's in many ways more espionage than military. But yeah, I think if I had to pick, I'd pick Sergeant Rock, actually. He has a sort of... This is a dangerous thing to praise in a soldier, but he has a healthy disdain for the chain of command. Yeah, like, you don't want that to go too far. You'd be like one of those, like the Japanese generals that didn't believe the war was over, or things like that. Like, because there were all of those kind of cases where they, like, refused to believe, they thought it was a trick. So they were like refusing stand down orders and stuff like that. You don't want that kind of disdain for authority, but like the kind where it's, where if you're getting sent in somewhere and it's going to be a slaughterhouse, you don't go. Or if you're being told you shouldn't go somewhere, but you know that like innocents are in danger and you go in. He's like that kind of disdain for authority. So that's okay.
He's like the cop who's like, you can have my gun and you can have my badge, but this city will always be safe when I'm around.
But you can't take my freedom.
Yeah. Braveheart cop. Yeah.
And the last question on Josh's playlist is, what did you think of the New 52 revival of Men of War?
So I've mentioned this already. I think it's generally pretty... It tries to be pretty honest to like Rock's experience as a soldier and what the toll it takes on him emotionally, but it gets undercut by all of the inclusion of like people with powers. Like, I don't think they struck the balance well about being in a world with superheroes. It felt like it really like did a disservice to any sort of character work they could have done with the soldiers to place them in this sort of situation where they were irrelevant but fighting anyway. And maybe that all would have been addressed, but the series ended after 8 issues, so that's all there is.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
So we're going over to the email.
Check the email. Check email.
I mean, if we haven't been sued for that, we're not going to get sued for the thing.
I think that Disney might be just a little bit bigger than Strong Bad.
Just a little? Haha. I'll kick your ass if you don't say that we're the best, huh?
I think that we're the best. I don't know.
Is that Strong Bad?
Yeah.
Strong Bad. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
That's
like
pretty good.
Like a regular French-Canadian guy.
Burninating across the nation.
Not even the lyrics. This is my favorite unintentional bit of Richard's. He doesn't do it on purpose, but every time Richard has sung a song, he's sung the lyrics incorrectly. It's my favorite recurring joke on the show.
This is all the lyrics of the song. That's how we all finish this song.
Lonnie Holdoff asks, how many characters from War Comics made their way into the superhero universe? Are there any crossovers between the genres? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a fair bit.
Good manners goes a long way.
The
Thanks,
big
Lonnie.
one... Yeah, you liked having the thanks in there. Yeah.
Hold off. I'd say continue.
Hold off, Lonnie, on
Hold
your
on.
thanks. No, don't. Keep the thanks coming. Both Sergeant Rock and Captain Blackhawk and Unknown Soldier.
How long is this show?
I don't know. Okay, we're done.
It sounded like an old hillbilly wheezing to death at the end, by the way.
He's got this soundboard set up, but he hasn't bothered to like find relevant sounds or to time them at all that would make sense. He's just like...
This one's working.
That one was just called cranking. This is Dino.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm good now.
Yeah. So all
Thanks.
all three of those characters, thank you, from Josh Gill's question about who would I want on my team, have had significant like crossover in the superhero world. First of all, they all exist in the proper DC universe. Sergeant Rock has had team ups with Superman, like in like those DC Comics Presents things, and he's also like a war era hero. So anytime they would put a character in the war era, the odds of a team up with Sergeant Rock are pretty high. Unknown Soldier, the new 52 one that's like vaguely metahuman, was part of like a fake Suicide Squad team that the Thinker had put together that included like Power Girl and a couple of other characters that and Steel and that were meant to like try to find OMAC. So he was part of that team. So clearly part of that world. And the Blackhawks as a team have teamed up with multiple different incarnations. There was a character called Lady Blackhawk who was a member of the Birds of Prey for a while. Like Captain Blackhawk himself, has teamed up with people. The most recent version, Blackhawk Island and Hawk Girl is part of that team. That was part of DC Metal. So like they're in the world, they're in the universe, they're part of the fabric of that. They don't always cross over, but there's enough like significant contact between those sort of two sides of the world that you know that they all coexist.
So we have another question, last question from Oliver.
Sure.
Hello, Doc. In main superhero comics, there are a few characters who are meant to be current or former soldiers. Jon Stewart comes to mind. Also, wasn't there a supporting character in New 52 Aquaman? What are your thoughts on the way in which soldiers or veteran characters are written in the context of superhero comics? I always found it odd to juxtapose two very different ideas of heroism. Love the show. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Oliver.
Yeah, thanks. I like that we ended with two thanks.
Me too.
It's like we said, may I have another? And Oliver said, yes, you may.
If we were getting these questions live, then yeah, that would be how it went.
You missed the joke there,
What?
Oliver.
May we have another? Yeah. I don't get it.
More? You want more?
Consider yourself. Right. So, both of the characters that he brought up are superheroes who are known to be like veterans. Jon Stewart is a Green Lantern, and he's a former Marine. He's also a former architect, but both of those things play into his character. Jon tends to be written very like focused, disciplined. He's basically the anti-Hal. Hal is he's a test pilot. He was a fighter pilot, so he has like military experience, but Hal is known for being, I can't believe I'm using this word with like you two guys in the room. He's known for being cocksure and just like, you know, like
I don't understand what
flying off half cocked and just
what's the joke?
I'm usually a full cock kind of guy.
I don't get the joke. Anyways,
fuck it. So like Hal kind of flies by the seat of his pants, runs on instinct. John is more like calculating and thoughtful and strategizes, and that's sort of how they infer his background as a Marine. And he's very much about not necessarily following the rules at all costs, but that there is like a way to do things, that there's like a chain of command, and that there are certain responsibilities that fall to certain people. The New 52 Aquaman, like, supporting character that you're thinking of is called Prisoner of War. It comes from an arc called The Others that revealed that Aquaman's trident is one of 7 ancient Atlantean artifacts. They all have different abilities. The Prisoner of War has these, like, manacles that are made of the same material.
What's a manacle?
Like a bracelet, but it's like, a manacle would be like it's not a handcuff because it's not thin. It's like, imagine like old-timey handcuffs that were like big.
Okay. Like gauntlets, but...
Well, not a gauntlet because it's not a glove. It's just like if it was like a whole tube instead
like
of
a
just
wrist guard?
Yeah, but they're meant to be handcuffs. Because like he has them and there's like broken chain off each one. I think when he hits them together, he creates like a shield or something like that. But his other power sort of from it is that he can communicate with like fallen comrades and things like that. So that like Prisoner of War has a very limited run. He's in like that one arc of New 52 Aquaman called The Others, and then he was in a series called Aquaman and the Others, which went for 11 issues. With him, they really focus on like the PTSD, like what war did to him. So he's written more that way. Those are just two
Sounds
examples.
like Ragman to me.
Well, yeah, this is Ragman, originally a Vietnam vet, and then he's in the most recent Ragman series, he's just been made like a vet generally of some sort of Middle East.
Whatever conflict. Appropriate war makes sense for how old he is.
Exactly. But he also, in that most recent series, and in the original one, he's dealing with like ghosts of the past and things like that. Especially in this new series, instead of it just being like the 4 random friends of his dad that get electrocuted and their souls end up in the suit, it's like his fallen like platoon or whatever that are in the suit, along with all of the other souls. And eventually he has to like draw on their power and use them, and he doesn't want to because he knows it'll spend them and then they'll be gone forever. So you sort of get both things. You get someone that was like Jon Stewart that was like in the military, or like Steve Trevor, and they're just in there, like, we know what to do, and they're disciplined. You write them just very kind of strong and thoughtful and things like that. And then the other one, sometimes you get characters that are written that maybe they were the ones taking the orders instead of giving them. And they're the ones that are kind of living with shame, regret, anxiety, fear, anger, all of those sort of repercussions of
the
war.
Realness of war.
The realness of war. Yeah. I mean, I've said it a couple times. It's hard to balance those things in a superhero context because superheroes are fighting their own sort of war in a way, trying to protect existence. But all these ideas are so lofty and their powers are so hard to relate to, and especially on like a cosmic scale when you're talking about like multiverses and things like that. That's a lot different from just like people in a desert like killing each other like that. There's a disconnect to like punching a robot on another planet, right? Like they're not the same kind of war. So it's tough to balance those things. I think the characters that are superheroes that are written as having been veterans, you're really generally either way glossing over the experience with either example. I think you get closer to it with the war comics that feature superheroes, though, like I said, I still don't think they found the right balance of those two things. They're tough things to manage. I don't know what I would do if I were the writer that was trying to do that. But I do feel like you have to, in some way, sacrifice some of the truth of what it is to be a veteran or what it is to be in war if that character is also meant to be like a galactic cop. You know, like I don't know that they mesh, or if they do mesh, it doesn't work for like those monthly, just issue to issue comics. Maybe it's a special miniseries. It's something that like DC Vertigo might have, you know, published in the Vertigo days or something like that, right? Like if you did like a 12 issue John Stewart, you know, like miniseries where it was like his history of war and you wrote it real dark. Yeah. Like a Vertigo book that you could delve more deeply into it, but to do just like the weekly, like Green Lanterns, Gnort, like, and then also have someone that was like the things I've seen, or like, it doesn't gel. Maybe it should, maybe people should be exposed to that stuff more, but it doesn't sell. So it's not in the books. So et cetera, et cetera,
et cetera, et cetera. Indeed.
Exactly. Oh, what's this? We got it. We got a one last question come in
Ooh.
From an old friend.
Oh,
Julius Peppercorn.
Julius.
Julius, good to hear from you, bud.
I know.
It's been an age.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. So Julius says, considering so much of the wartime comics have been in the service of propaganda, how did propaganda change throughout the different wars throughout the years? And have wars been reflected in more recent comics?
Yeah. I mean, I will say that the comics, to me, feel less propagandic.
Yeah.
Propagandist. Than they used to. Like, I have like a couple of like prints at home of like old comic book covers, and there's one that's like Batman number 12, and the cover is Batman and Robin in a Jeep, and they're saying like, buy war savings bonds and stamps. Which was important at the time.
Yeah.
To buy those things to support the war effort.
Yeah.
It's much less overt now, right? Like when the US went into Iraq, they weren't putting out covers where Superman was like, you know, get backy at those Iraqis. Like,
Yeah.
but that type of thing was on like World War II comics where they were like, you know, they had things about stamps and it was like, help lick a Jap. Like they were like
Yeesh.
aggressive, right? Like, so the outward overt propaganda
Yeah.
doesn't exist the way it used
So
to.
did they do that? Like, did that happen through like, was there like hippie Vietnam
Oh,
comics
yeah.
and stuff?
I mean, that's kind of where Ragman comes from.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
he's
like
a Vietnam
it's
vet.
a reaction to Vietnam. But yeah, there were all sorts of things like that. There's a whole series that takes place on an alternate Earth called like Prez, and
Yeah.
it's about this like young president who's like kind of like a flower child, and it was like clearly like the version of history that was not where Vietnam happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was veering away from that. I mean, Watchmen deals extensively with war. I mean, if you want to look for a great crossover between superhero comics and war, you need look no further than the comedian in Watchmen.
Oh yeah, I guess
That
that's
is
true.
that
Yeah.
is a character whose experience in war and as the ugly side of war, not just as a soldier willing to do anything
Yeah.
in quote unquote service of the country. And you see what that does to him, like his mental break where he ends up in the home of an old villain crying because he can't believe like
Wow.
what it's come to. Like the comedian is maybe one of the best written blends of those genres.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, and he's all about that like shifting nature of propaganda, you know, like Dr. Manhattan in that book is held up as like, you know, next best thing to God, and he's American.
Mm-hmm.
The comedian wears the stars and stripes and just, you know, torches people alive, and you know, like he's remorseless.
Mm-hmm.
He's really like, it's ugly patriotism. So, I mean, that has shifted and changed. Like, when you see that patriotism now, it's in that context where they're saying that it's bad. Whereas during the war, it was like they were drawing like buck-toothed Japanese characters for Superman to punch. Like,
So was that all in the purview of the creators, or was that like, did the government have some sort of influence? Like, I'm wondering why they were so heavy-handed in the propaganda.
I mean, that's hard to say. I have to imagine there's some sort of like, yeah, like maybe that's I don't know what it would look like if it was like
Yeah.
a tax thing, or if it was like
I'd be
like, this is how
curious
you're
to
supporting
know.
the war effort, or like if,
Yeah.
or if I don't exactly know, or if everyone's sense of like quote unquote duty was just this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
We need people to buy these war bonds.
That's a story that I wish that I knew more about. I'd love to know.
Yeah,
more.
and I unfortunately don't have the answer to that. I would be curious to know. But you definitely see that shift, right? Like that's all through those, like any comic put out in the 40s is like pretty like rah.
So when did that end? Or has it ended?
I mean, like I said, that version of it has ended.
But I mean, like the propagandist sort of like supporting the war effort.
Well, this is the thing. Comics have always been political. Sorry,
Yeah.
comics gators, you're wrong. Keep politics out of my comics. You've clearly never read a comic.
Yeah.
Comics have always been political. So what you see now
Shots fired.
is instead of like, yeah, like I said, like it's not just blind, like the country's doing this, we should be in support of it.
Yeah.
It's more like, I think you'll see if war is in the public consciousness or if it's a thing that's happening, then you'll see stories that maybe try to deal with the repercussions of that, or about political influence or interference or corruption or things like. I think that's the angle of those kind of stories now, is maybe the deconstruction of what it means to be patriotic or what it means to go to war. I would be surprised and disappointed, I think, to see a comic now that was at all like
In support.
of just invading a sovereign nation. Like, I think anytime that you would get something that you really had to rally behind it, you'd have to be like on the defensive in the story. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like someone invading America and you repel them. It couldn't be like, and we're going to go over there and give them democracy. Like, I don't think that would work.
No, probably not.
But if you're like defending the home front, might
Yeah.
be the only version of that I think they could still get away with.
So do we see anything like that in recent comics?
Not really in that like war genre.
Do they reference like the war in Afghanistan, things like that?
Yeah, in terms of, you know, characters, if they say like,
Because I mean, that's always the really tricky thing, right?
here's one. In the most recent arc of Justice League, they end up in the Justice League Watchtower crashes to Earth and it falls somewhere in Africa. And the Justice League ends up there to try and retrieve their technology and things, but they end up caught in the middle of this thing where like this despotic leader, the Red Lion, is looking to take control of an area, and then there are these refugees, but the refugees were previously rebels in another country, and the Justice League realizes that they're embroiled in a political conflict that they can't simply change. That there's no version of them with the eyes of the world on them, with like cameras rolling and things like that. They can't just pick a side. At first they try to. They say like, no, they're refugees, we protect them. And say, yeah, fine, protect them. But like they had previously been like, you know, chemically bombing these people. And then like they realize what they're embroiled in. They ultimately, the way they get out of it is they have to pay Deathstroke to stage like a superhero fight that takes them away from that area. Because
Really?
if they just left, it would look like they were abandoning, like they become like embroiled in this sort of political, like the machinations. So maybe that's the closest you get. And that's written by a writer named Christopher Priest, who's very talented. I didn't necessarily love like all of the stuff in that arc, but that idea of like, what is the Justice League's place in international affairs in conflict? You know, like it's one thing if like Superman's, whether he, you know, says it out loud or not, he's American. If Lex Luthor steals something, he just goes and apprehends him. But if someone is like a warlord and flees to another country, do you invade a sovereign nation to get something back? Like, at what point does the Justice League become a political entity? And so I think that's maybe where you see ideas that would be in a war comic creep into the superhero ones. I think is in that kind of storytelling.
I mean, it brings up this complicated thing where, I mean, the universe that DC generally works upon is not the one that we're currently in, and so the cities are very different, and so I would assume that a lot of the like the wars and things are different, and so it's always like, when do they even replicate what's going on our Earth? Because that even makes sense in from like a canon standpoint.
They don't
like,
necessarily do it like explicitly, like the war
because it just doesn't. Yeah, because that wouldn't make any sense,
but they
right?
would make it like there are other countries, like Kandak is like a stand-in for the Middle East,
yeah,
you know, or Vlatava is a stand-in for like Eastern Europe. Like they have analogs that they can use, so they make up conflict.
And yet there is America.
If Vlatava and Kaznia went to war, that would be a DC version of like the Yugoslav kind.
It's funny that there is still America, right?
Or any of the or that there's also still New York, but also Metropolis.
Yeah, that's weird.
And Gotham.
That's weird.
And that Metropolis is also meant to be in New York State. So
that's very
New York
confusing.
City and Metropolis, both on the ocean, I should add.
Both
and
like
Gotham City,
huge
and
cities.
Gotham City is across the harbor in New Jersey.
Weird.
Yeah. Technically, this is a bit of a tangent.
Your dad's going to be on the episode soon. Don't worry. Like on an episode.
This is technically a bit of a tangent, but in a Marvel and DC universe crossover, they actually address this because Marvel has mostly just real locations for their heroes. There are some made up places like Wakanda and wherever Doctor Doom is from, Latveria. Yeah, but they say that the DC Earth is like modestly larger. Like the actual Earth itself is a little bit larger.
Really?
And that's what makes the space for all of these cities to coexist with real cities.
That's funny.
Is that the DC Earth is actually a bit bigger than the Marvel Earth, which is more like the size of our Earth. Only slightly, but that was their like story way of kind of addressing.
That's very funny. Well, that's awesome. Those are some great questions today, actually.
Yeah.
We got some questions from like newer people too.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to get new people in, and not just new people listening, which is happening all the time.
Yeah.
But like new people like sending messages on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. That's awesome. Like if you have things that obviously we can't talk about everything in any given episode. If there's stuff that you want to talk about that you think we should like revisit war comics at some point,
but still like message us, let us know. Yeah. I mean, the reality is even if we weren't doing that specific episode this week, we're going to add it to the bank and we're going to answer it at some point or another, or we may just answer it on Twitter or email or whatever. But we're always looking for more questions and trying to answer as many things that you guys might have. So if you want to do so, you can do it through.
Well, here
before we do that, we do have. Sorry.
So we
more thing.
We will like put our social media stuff up because there's next week the theme for our episode is going to be like artifacts and items of power.
Nice.
So not superpowers that people have, but like the tools and weapons and costumes that give them abilities.
Shit they use to fight the bad guys.
So to do that, to introduce us to that, I'm giving Colin a new reading assignment, which is, love this drum roll thing. It's Dial H.
It's like Dave Letterman's top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dial H number 1 from the New 52. Oh. I'm not going to say anything about it. Remember the rules, Colin. You can comment on eyes alone, and then we'll talk about the rest next week.
This guy, his eyes have that kind of vibe that he's like, he's high, and he's wondering if everyone around him also knows that he's a little high.
Isn't that just every time anyone's high?
He's got that exactly right. Look at that.
He's not wrong.
That's
an apt description of what that looks like.
Colin is going to read Dial H number 1. We're going to talk about it next week and then get into questions about artifacts and items of power.
A most unlikely hero died.
Hey, that's not the eyes. So,
is it in French?
No,
okay.
If you want to ask some questions about items and artifacts in the DC universe, you can do so through our many various social media places, such as
Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
Instagram, I guess,
Dr. DC Podcast,
Twitter for real,
at Dr. DC.
Email, as always,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
Don't forget our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
All right, guys, listen. We had a discussion last week.
Time to get real.
It's time to get real. I made a post on Twitter. Some of you guys liked it. I don't see any reviews that reflect that like.
Oh, Jesus.
We really want to get to...
If you're going to beg, don't like neg people.
Yeah, don't also be a dick about it.
Hey. Really want to get those likes.
Take a knee.
Really We really want to get those reviews on iTunes. They're going to help us out. They're going to help us get up into those new and noteworthy sections on iTunes and eventually help us, get some sponsors and make some money at this so that we can do even more content for you guys. And the only way we can do that, though.
Great Lakes, we're not looking to ditch you.
No. You guys are great, but we need even more money.
At this point, we're going to be under the old and noteworthy.
Yeah, you guys are great, but we're fucking greedy.
But the reality is we also want to spread this message. And the way we can do that and get more fans and get more questions is that if we get higher up in the iTunes ranking. And the only way we can do that is if you guys go on iTunes and give us reviews. Guys and gals. I apologize. We give a lot of female reviews. I apologize. A lot of female listeners.
Yeah.
The only way we can do that, though, is if you guys go on to iTunes. And I know it's a huge pain in the ass. And every single podcast that you have on your phone is asking you to do this. But we need it more.
Yeah, but we're worse than they are.
Yeah.
So please help.
I'll get more pathetic if I have to. Again, if we get to 50, we're going to make Colin read Superman for all seasons.
Yes.
That's just 50.
52.
52. So I apologize. You're right. That's just 52. Just wait.
What are we at right now?
It's like 12 or something.
Oh, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. But
there is no way we're going to hit 52. I am okay. This is fine.
But if we do, you guys are really going to want to know what 100 is.
What is 100?
Oh, I'm not going to say anything. I just said.
Well, let's just say it now, and then maybe we'll just get straight to 100.
Nope.
Why are we playing coy?
No.
You just don't know what it is.
But don't worry about it.
The same way that I'm not worried about reading that comic.
It's gonna be something that nobody wants.
What's it, Josh? It's you with a shirt off.
Whatever. But the only way to find out where we get to 100 is if we get to 52. So the only way we're going to get to 52 is if you go on iTunes, do it today. Do it right now. It takes literally 2 seconds. Just go on there, give us a 5-star review.
Less than a cup of coffee a day.
This is a longer segment than the questions.
It's going to get longer than the entire episode if I don't get another review.
Jesus, please, just give us...
The podcast is now called the Richard Bagshire 5-star Reviews podcast.
For the sake of our format, just give us reviews, please.
So that's all I'm asking for.
But also, Google Play, Spotify, we're on all of those things. Libsyn, so wherever you get your podcasts.
There's a good chance that we're going to have an episode on there somewhere.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely go do that for us. It helps us out a lot, and then we can continue doing great stuff. And then I've got a lot of ideas for what we can do when we get more listeners and more sponsorships and things like that. So
many ideas that he won't say them.
So many ideas that I haven't come up with yet.
And honestly, you guys, the reality is I'm technologically unsavvy, and even I can find where to listen to our podcast.
Exactly. And if you do that and leave us a review, we'll say it on the next episode. It'll be funny and great. And if you've already left a review, harass your friends.
For any of you that are still with us,
treat this like Tupperware. Just like this is a pyramid scheme that's going to go all the way to the top. And the only way that you're going to be able to make money is if you get your friends involved.
We good?
Yeah, I'm good now, I think.
Some kind of sign off.
Adios.
Kid Caballero.
Heroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure.